Oh dear.
Hi, my name's Romy, and just like my personality, I like to ferment things. Casty baby's sleeping on my bed, Mushka is up at the house because he hates it down here, and I'm too scared to use my kitchen, so I'm gonna do it in a video. So I have someone to hold my hand through the process. So I've officially, finally, moved into the cottage. This is Clover Cottage and this is my kitchen. And this, is that why you're sad you've been snapped? Oh God, oh God. Oh, the one at the back's broken as well. So yes, I have officially moved in. You're propped up on my fridge that only has a bottle of almond milk in it. And I haven't actually cooked anything in here because the only ingredients I have down here are a bottle of almond milk and some puppy biscuits. So, magic. Now my pantry's stocked. So I'm a bit of a kombucha aficionado and I have been known to leave some rhubarb fizz in the pantry for so long that it explodes and shatters. You could say I'm an old hand at this, or you could say I'm a fermented hand at this. So now that I've moved down to the cottage and I opened my last bottle of kombucha last night and it was not peak, it's time to make some things. So at all times I have 2 bottles of kombucha on the go, but unfortunately I left them on the go maybe 5 weeks too long, which is okay because when my kombucha ferments too long, that is a bloody massive bird. When my kombucha ferments too long, I forget about it, something happens and it turns into vinegar. I just use it for cleaning because vinegar is great for mopping. So today we're going to be sorting out and putting on a fresh brew of kombucha. We're also going to be making some fermented ginger beer, which I found a recipe for last week, and some rhubarb fizz. Let's get going. I probably need to do the dishes first. Need and want are 2 very different things. Alright, kombucha. I'm doing a double batch because I've got 2 batches, so I need to boil my kettle. Oh, I didn't wash my kettle. So I haven't actually used my stove yet, or my kettle. So for the kombucha brew I make, I put 2 cups of boiling water, a cup of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of tea. Now, all of this I'm going to put in my cleaning kombucha jar and keep aside a cup. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Rinse your vessels. That's thicker than a finger. Didn't leave you that long, did I? Now I have heaps of stuff for cleaning floors. Rinse your vessels. Whilst we're waiting for the kettle to boil, 6 cups of water go into your cleaned vessels. Make yourself a cup or 2 while you're at it. Now we're gonna let this steep for like 20 minutes. It's been 40 minutes. Let's strain half of this into our jug of water. And half of it, whoa, into the other jug of water. Then, because this is nice and room temperature, we'll pour in our half cup of old kombucha. A bit more than half a cup. Now that is way too much Scoby for one. So we're just gonna yoink this little slimy one off the bottom that's growing. It's the perfect size. Glonk. Rinse, 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 rinse. Then into my Scoby jar, we're going to chuck these massive Scobies, which we will attend to in a minute. A minute? We never attend to anything out here. Who are you kidding? Then I forgot the entire next process, thank you Mushka, where you do all of this again in a week when your beautifully brewed kombucha is ready to actually be bottled. This time you bottle it and you keep it for yourself, and in another week it's ready to drink. This all depends on, the heat of the area you live in. It takes longer in winter, etc, etc, etc. Beautiful drink, thank you. And finally the kombucha. Now I have already drunk like a glass and a half of this. I just needed something refreshing, and I was a little worried it was going to be terrible because when I popped the lid, it didn't fizzle, but it's fizzly and it's beautiful and it's subtle and it's sweet and it doesn't taste like pure vinegar. So they were all things that I want in my kombucha. How refreshing, if a little bit lukewarm. Now we're gonna make Scoby Gummies! I love these! So I'm gonna grab a couple of the real chunky ones out of this and just chop them up into little pieces and pop them in my pan. The recipe that I first saw said that you use equal parts chopped up Scoby to sugar. I don't do that, I just pour in the amount of sugar that looks right. I love Scoby Gummies! This one!
It's so slimy.
Rinse! Looks like I made a slightly bigger tub than I expected. The given amount of sugar that I would add. But I don't know, I'm just gonna tip a bunch in. Now that just is gonna cook on like simmer for maybe an hour, maybe 2, I don't know. Okay, my Scobies have been cooking for maybe 3 hours. I like to really eyeball everything I do, and I know they're ready to come off the pan when they have nearly absorbed all of the juices and you mix them and you hear like a faint sticking sound. It's very specific. And I'm gonna bake them for a certain amount of time until they're kind of gummy. I really couldn't tell you how long this is. I usually grill them, but the grill on my oven doesn't work, I found out. So I'm going to bake them. Sometimes it's half an hour, sometimes it's an hour and a half. It's all luck of the game. After about an hour and a half in the oven, this is how they look. So my oven actually stopped working a couple of times, and now my fridge seems to be playing up. So I'll keep you updated on those.
Yeah, I didn't do that. No updates for you.
I am, however, now going to put these into a jar and then put them in the fridge and hope that my fridge stops dripping. It didn't stop dripping. Now we're going to make some rhubarb fizz. I have this lovely bunch of freshly picked rhubarb and I just need to chop it into like little inch bits and clean it. I read the recipe for this maybe 5 years ago, and like most things, I've winged it since. I've winged it since. So I think it's 6 cups of cold water and 2 cups of boiling water. I'm going to pour the boiling water on first to let it melt the sugar.
Did I not mention there's a cup of sugar in this as well? Salt.
I also need a lemon. This is going well. Now for this rhubarb fizz, which smells so good, I'm going to add 6 cups of cold water and then a few tablespoons, usually of white vinegar, but I don't have white vinegar. I've got my kombucha vinegar, so a couple tablespoons of that. It's literally vinegar. It's great. Now we're going to leave that for about a day. The original recipe said about 3 days, I think, but every time I made it and I left it for more than 24 hours, it started to go moldy. So I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to pop this somewhere and tomorrow evening I'll bottle it. Oh, okay. I would be shocked anyone would have thought that would be a good method, Romy. And like I always say, if something's going to be a massive cock up, at least let it be a massive cock up that leaves your kitchen smelling like rhubarb. Haven't you heard me say that before?
If at this stage you've noticed the framing of this video is weird, don't ask about it. Because it's not weird on my camera and the first draft wasn't weird either.
So it's Christmas Eve and I would love to bring out a little showstopper this evening. Which is why we're going to test and see if this raspberry fizz is ready. Please don't ruin my life right now. I'm going to pop you out the window. Lucky I did that, is all I'll say. Christmas centerpiece. Now we're going to make ginger beer, but we're going to make 2 types. That's 4, just 2. I grew up making ginger beer And the process is that you use ground ginger or powdered ginger, but I also just last week found a recipe from Jamie of Nettles and Petals, which is for a probiotic ginger beer that uses fresh ginger, and the recipes actually look really similar. So I decided I wanted to make both and see which one I like more. I think the raw ginger is going to be absolutely beautiful, but one from my childhood has sultanas in it. Alright, first of all we're going to do the one from my childhood. Specifically 8 sultanas, the juice of 2 lemons and a teaspoon of pulp, 4 teaspoons of sugar, good luck, and 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. 2 cups of water goes into this. I have to leave this for about 2 to 3 days to start fermenting, and then for a week afterwards, every day I have to add 2 teaspoons of ground ginger and 4 teaspoons of ground sugar. According to the Hello Kitty Book of Truths, it's time to start adding powdered ginger and sugar to my homebrew. Juicy. Ow. I've had to use a stupid amount of Allen keys in the last week, and I've realised I have a special skill. And that is that I can tell just by looking at an object what size Allen key it needs. Superpower unlocked. Completely nothing to do with anything but the outfit.
At this stage, I've given up with this video. Sorry video, you've destroyed me too many times. So some of the footage might be just, shit. You strain your ginger bug and keep aside all of the hard stuff. Half of that you can put back into the jar with 2 teaspoons of sugar and 2 teaspoons of ginger and a cup of water, and continue your ginger bug indefinitely if you like, or until it takes on sentience and doesn't want to be ginger beer anymore. Add 16 cups of cold water to your ginger beery brew and bottle it, and hope for the best, because I didn't do that part, and the best, they shattered. Shit.
I've just come down to do some bottling, and I found a piece of glass on the ground, and I was like, oh, well, no one's broken in, so something just mustn't have known there was glass there. Cass went over to have a drink of water. One of the ginger beer bottles has exploded. Historians will say that's why you burp your ginger beer, but historians need to mind their own business. This has only been bottled for about a week. I literally just popped you. Dramatic. I've got a cold, so I cannot smell anything. Okay, this one is a lot sweeter. I'd like to know what it tastes like when I can smell again and breathe properly again. It is a lot sweeter and I think more gingery. So I'm going to put less sugar in the second batch. I really like how it tastes. It does have like that ginger warmth at the back of your palate. Now for the Nettles and Petals version, we use 2 cups of cold water, 6 teaspoons of fresh shredded ginger and 4 teaspoons of sugar. Give it a shake. This one we leave for about 24 hours in a warm place to start fermenting. Then for the next 3 to 5 days, we add 2 teaspoons more of chopped ginger and 2 teaspoons more of sugar.
After a week of chopping ginger and spooning in sugar, you make this ginger syrup with a little bit of water, 180 grams of sugar and 54 grams of grated ginger. If you know anything about me, you know I eyeballed those instructions. You let it simmer and then cool, and then you pour the strained contents into a bucket with half a cup of your strained ginger bug, the juice of 2 lemons and 2 liters of water. I kept all of the chopped ginger from the syrup and from my ginger bug, and I just put it all back in the ginger bug and kept it going. It worked really well.
Now, this drinking from the cup first taste thing, it's a sham. I had 2 cups of this yesterday. It is perhaps the most highly charged ginger beer I've ever made, in that I only opened it 2 minutes ago and it still had that much pop. And it's a really good ginger beer. It's not as gingery as I would have imagined for something with so much fresh ginger in it, but it's really good.
I lost my actual outro, so just enjoy this. Enjoy, really.
And while I did have an explosive bottle that I am very glad I was not in the cottage for, it is really lovely just having a bunch of like specialty brews that I made lined up next to my bookshelf. It's great when they're not exploding and introducing ants into my house, and they're so nice to just pop in my little fridge. My fridge might get stressed by anything going in it and start to drip excessively because it's vintage like that, but who else doesn't sweat excessively when something comes into their environment that they're not familiar with? Just me? Oh, okay, cool. Now I have made 3 batches. Now I have made... Cool.